Hello, everyone. We're live with another Squad Chat. Today we have Chuck and Fuzzhead with us. As you can see, Fuzzhead is our game designer. Chuck is our lead animator. We're going to be talking about V11, kind of what they did on that, what's looking for the future, maybe, and we'll be taking some of your questions. So, kind of without further ado, we'll get started with Fuzzhead. Who are you,
Hey guys.
Fuzzhead?
Oh, I'm a avid player of all things squad and any kind of realism tactical shooter, anyways. But also helped work on Project Reality mod for 6 years. Was the main one of the main designers for that game. So yep, it was pretty cool. And now I'm back here with OWI, starting to ramp up squad's game design, get some more interesting game play mechanics. So starting with A11 and then moving on from there. So yeah,
Yeah,
super
so
pumped.
folks would kind of recognize some of your work from a lot of the layers and AES bleed changes that went into V11. You're kind of behind
Yeah.
that, and we'll certainly get more into that after we talk to Chuck here. Chuck, you are our lead animator. You want to tell us about how you kind of came to Squad and what you do with us?
Yeah. Well, I go all the way back to Project Reality. So like, actually, me and Fuzz worked on PR like
Yeah, yeah.
for God knows how long. I think we started in like 2008. Was it?
2000. Yeah, I think I was in 2007. You came on board 2008.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
what long while, yeah.
A long while. So then like, I was doing animation for Project Reality for pretty much my entire time there. And then when Squad started, like I was sort of brought onto that from the very beginning, like with the intent of actually doing animations, of course. But then it like over the course of development, it's grown to not only being like a quasi managerial kind of role, but also like doing a lot of graphic design. I did all the branding for Squad since the very beginning, the website design as well. Like I've worn so many hats since the very beginning. It's like the animator is probably just one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you even used to do the recaps and everything, and you still have a huge hand in that too.
I
So like,
still, yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
pretty much
Like,
anything
yeah,
that has a little bit of the Squad flavor on it has a little bit of Chuck on there too. So it's
a little
Yeah.
he's
bit, a little
he's
bit.
kind of the guiding voice behind the visual appeal of a lot of what we do. And yeah, like it's you guys both have this huge history with Project Reality, and I would say that's really awesome, and I'm sure that's encouraging to a lot of people. But how are you bringing that experience into Squad?
Yeah, so I think not to say that, Squad wasn't like PR in the past, but just trying to I think there was a little bit of a period where like you guys were ramping up with A10, trying to get all those animation things in and stuff,
Yeah,
kind of held back some of the ability to get more gameplay assets and like gameplay dynamics in there. So now that the team's wide open, like we got, it's quite busy. Like I got enough people now that you guys can actually get a lot of work done on the gameplay side of things. So I
yeah,
think
yeah.
we're gonna
That's
see massive change, in the gameplay, like just ramping up, how much uh, the depth of the game increases, with just in terms of, I know there was this meta for long time, like people talked about that, but that was so shallow in terms of how much more we can go with it. So I'm hoping we can get a little more depth in terms of, strategy within the game.
yeah. Like the Alpha 10 cycle was so long, unintendedly long, that we actually grew our like team size by I think maybe 5 6 people, mainly programmers and like UE4 specialists, that like going past Alpha 10 and going into Alpha 11 and beyond. Like I think that our capability to just put out prototype features and to get things like faster into the main build is definitely a gigantic change from like say the beginning of last year, when we were just really trying to figure out what we're going to do with like Alpha 10, and especially at the time, like the animation system, which was a gigantic nightmare uh, for for a lot of us internally.
Especially you. I mean, you were deep into that one.
Yeah. I was Work began on the Alpha 10 animation system in like September 2016, like when we were basically like we were looking at our old animation system, and it was that stuff was like literally from beginning of 2014 when like the engine just began. So when we built that, we didn't really know what we were supposed to be doing. I guess to the credit of whoever that actually for whoever that wrote that original animation system, is like that has lasted us actually for a good like 3 years since we wrote it. So but then obviously we wanted to go far beyond it, and like we spent a lot of time obviously prototyping and like doing R&D on it. And it actually even came to a point where we were like, we can't use any of the old animations anymore. So we were like panicking a little bit, but then we set a plan, and we had to actually reanimate every single animation, including first-person animations, third-person animations.
And they look amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, they do. And Animatrix has been essential in making that really go well too. The studio that we
the motion capture stuff. Yeah, it's something that I never even dreamed that I would actually be doing in my career, because it's like in terms of game development, Squad is the only game I've ever worked on. Like outside of gaming, I worked in like TV and film in 2D animation. So I draw cartoons and stuff, but then anything relating to 3D and games, it's only been Project Reality and Squad. So when I think it was like mid last year, when we had the opportunity to actually go to a proper like motion capture studio, like the studio that does mocap for like Star Wars and like Gears of War, like huge titles that are done by the best of the best. It's like it was a really like a nice treat for someone who like me, who came up from like the modding scene.
I assume they have more than 2 people working on their animation.
I think they have more than 2 people working animation.
Yeah,
I think they're up to 3 or 4. Yeah, that kind of, it's an interesting point to me, that it's something that you guys didn't really get to do in Project Reality, and I'm curious to see how, like, you have this really broad experience and history with Squad and kind of those experiences. How are you pulling from that and making sure Squad is its own game and not just like redoing Project Reality? What is making Squad unique in your mind?
I think it's the opportunity for us to go beyond what we had obviously achieved with like Project Reality, in terms of like I guess speaking from like the artistic side, like obviously working with the current generation engine, like the ability for us to write pretty much anything in terms of gameplay mechanics and code is like something that we obviously didn't have back in like the Project Reality days. Like with PR, it was always like trying to creatively figure out like roundabouts to the limitations with the engine and what we could tinker with.
yeah. I think that, like, I want to just say, like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with PR in the fact that it's not like it was like this tried and tested. That game, nobody else had made a game like that, right? So if Squad can just do what that game did and then just keep expanding, that's I think that's awesome. You know what I mean? Because like, yeah, like Chuck said, there's so many limitations with that engine. Yeah, I would say, hey, just keep expanding and evolving that gameplay, because I think that's the ticket to an amazing tactical shooter, if you just keep moving that way.
And there's a reason people are still playing it and still very passionate about it.
Yeah,
like, it's good. It's good.
I think that's also one of the biggest like pluses to getting someone like Fuzzhead on board, because he's always been like the biggest proponent of like Project Reality, but but also it's like I believe that he understands the core of what PR was and is, and like and he would have the ability to translate all of those ideas like into obviously a game like Squad that in in a way that we wouldn't have to work with a lot of the a lot of the weird restrictions that like
Yeah.
PR had. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions there. Yeah. Oh,
it's about
shout,
communicating like
shout out
intent.
to talking about PR. Oh yeah, you got one of these, Chuck?
I actually don't. I have no
DB
PR
brought me
merch.
Oh,
DB
swag
brought me this
shamed.
back in the day. Yeah.
I have no PR merch on me.
So,
I have a lot of squad merchandise, but not that.
yeah, I know. I don't even have a squad shirt yet. I gotta go get one of those.
Yeah, we got send you one of those.
Yeah.
I think there was some mention of tracksuits in the works too, but that might be might have to squat off to prove that you.
Hey,
one of those.
I voted up for that idea. Chuck, would you vote for the tracksuit?
I said yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what like the vote is currently like what 95-5 or something.
Oh, perfect.
Percent. I mean, yeah.
See, going back to like the pulling from the core project reality and involving that, I think you, Fuzzhead, what you're doing with the more recent layers and kind of getting back to figuring out the core mechanics and experimenting there with bleed and ticket loss is kind of a big part of what
Yeah.
you've been trying to do. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so yeah, I think Squad had a very kind of, I don't want to say stagnant, but it had a formula and it worked. And V9 was a long release cycle, like you said, leading up to V10. So the game kind of was set in not stone, but the cement was drying, right? So I'm kind of mixing it up here. Part of the PR success was a lot of the experimentation. This obviously being not a mod, we gotta be careful with the way we experiment. But I think important thing is we're going to be adding all these systems, like adding the tow system. Like having something that's that deadly to vehicles. That's going to take a little bit to sort out. And seeing as it's still a game in alpha, pre-release, all these systems are coming online one at a time. So to integrate it and to balance everything out, we're going to be there's going to be a little bit of balancing issues happening. So yeah, I wouldn't expect the game to be in the balancing stage until we're out of alpha into beta, leading up to our exit out of early access. So yeah, so the ticket bleed thing, that's something I think was needed. Not to say that ticket bleed won't come back, but Mother Deer is currently rewriting the AAS code, so it's going to be much more versatile. So if we do want to bring back ticket bleed, we can bring it back into some kind of manner that makes more sense. But yeah, the number one thing about the ticket bleed was it kind of locked people down into a do or die kind of mentality, where you've got to either push on or you've lost the game. And that wasn't really the case in PR. Like that kind of it's kind of a psychological effect on the squad leaders, and we want one of the problems right now is you got a lot of squad leaders who they're good in their own independent squad, but working together is a challenge, right? And getting those squad leaders to not play the blame game to fight each other over if something's going wrong, but rather work together. So that's a huge thing that we're building towards in V12 is getting those squad leaders to work together and be more positive interactions between the squad leaders, getting them all on board. So even if your team might be losing, you're still have a team cohesiveness rather than divisiveness. So that's Ross went to that. He talked about that in the last Squadcast, actually going to the game convention, and there's that's not just squad, that's across the board, getting players to be less toxic to each other and more of a healthy kind of community. So that's something we are kind of looking at, seeing is, hey, how can we get squads to interact with each other in a more like good manner when you're on your team. Obviously, the other team you can shit talk, but we're hoping to get these squad leaders to kind of raise the bar a little bit more, and because like I said, I've said this many times, with the lifeblood of PR and as well as squad, because it's following the same formula, is the squad leaders. The quality of squad leaders determines the quality of play of the entire game. So if you're on a server with tons of good squad leaders, both your side and the enemy side, chances are it's going to be a blast regardless of what's happening, right? But if you're on server. There's not a lot of action going on between the squad leaders. Like they're not communicating with each other, and even they're very loosely organizing their own squads. It's going to feel more disconnected, you know. So we got to try and foster those good quality squad leaders and raise that bar up for, you know, obviously certain times of the day, certain servers are going to be higher or lower than others. But yeah, that's generally the sense that we want to bring these squad leaders on board and bring up raise that level of play, quality of play. So.
And that's something that, Chuck, you're kind of approaching from the art side of things, too. It's not just about kind of the gameplay layers, but it's actually about making squad leader life a little bit more appealing and attractive, too. I mean, you guys are working on that.
Yeah.
We're doing a big push now, especially since the release of the animation system. I'm actually diverting my attention more to UI and like user and that kind of like user experience. I'm working really closely with one of our newer guys. His name is Ren, and he's like a complete master at like Unreal Motion Graphics, which is what the way you build user interfaces within Unreal, and what we want to go ahead with is a complete rework of the in-game UI. So not only the way that you join squad and also pick your role and all that kind of thing, but definitely the introduction of a much more like versatile and easy to use command interface. Something that will be definitely used a lot by squad leaders, and also a future commander role that will definitely make the squad leader's life a lot easier.
So can we do some chat here? Where is the chat anyways? It's on Twitch?
Yeah, it would be on twitch.tv/joinsquad, and we've got some folks in there kind of chatted up. Buzz, if you want to try to rephrase your question about sound, we can get to that. Well, you get here, Fuzz. I can see you slowly like scanning the thing.
Yeah, I just want to say hey to all the chat people. Of course, Oni Shinobi's here.
Yes, this is a good question. We know a little bit about this. This is not necessarily the forte of either folks here, but is there a more seamless process for deploying mods coming? They have mods up right now. It's kind of hard to get new users. There's a high barrier for entry. Like I said, it's not necessarily your forte, but I think you guys can talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. Is Zach coming on your SquadCast? Because he's the guy to talk to about that.
I'm saying it gives you like a.
Yeah, and I think Zach might be in the chat. And Zach is somebody we can pull in for one of those for sure. He's our modding coder, and he's been responsible for the release of modding 1.0, and is hard at work at modding 2.0 and making sure that things like auto download. So yeah, Zach is in the chat.
Yeah, so for sure, obviously. Man, is that feedback on your end there, Chuc? I'm hearing like a crap load of talking on mine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that's some of our guys in the background, but I'll just like mute myself.
Okay, there you go. Is mine okay? My mic?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, there just was a little bit of conversation, crosstalk going on in the background at the office there.
Ross in the background, someone said.
So they're just talking about tanks.
Tanks, yes. Don't give away the leaks.
Okay, here's a good one. Fire wants. He's not necessarily a squad-related question, but he wants to know about your background in game design and kind of how you came to it, and that's.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I will get to. Let me talk about the modding. Obviously, is very less than ideal at the moment, right? Because effectively, like we're not like blind. It's like it's effectively you got training servers, and maybe we're trying to rev it up a little bit on the weekends with these events, which I have yet to join. I'm hoping I can get in on the one this weekend, the modding events. These are great. But the fact that there's a helicopter mod and it has freaking fast ropes and it's not a full server, we know something's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? That's so cool. Like, the modding guys are doing amazing work, and their work is underappreciated or underplayed at the moment. So yeah, I really hope we can get some kind of seamless integration. But I don't want to talk too much on that because it's like that's not my it's not my wheelhouse. You know, what I mean, that's Zach. So
Yeah,
I know
and
he
he
is.
confirms that in-game mod downloads are coming. It is a thing he's
Yes,
working on. Yeah.
that is. We'll really see that modding ramping up once we can actually just like click on the server and go, all right, I want to join the server because all my buddies are there. Join server. Okay, downloading all the mods, and then whether it has to restart the game to reinitialize everything or whatever. But yeah, if that can happen, that'll be big time gains for the modding. But you got to understand it is a game in alpha, so it's taking a little bit to get these things up. And obviously, every time you have a new revision where everything gets reworked, all the mods are going to have to depending on what system got reworked, but they're going to have to rework their modding. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to keep going back and forth there. But yes, so your question was, how did I get into game design? Well, as a player of many tactical shooting games, starting all the way back to Doom was my first game, but so I was a longtime player, and also I think I just had an eye for our design when it came to like always writing things down, always kind of saying, oh, this game would be better if it just had this, or it, what I mean, like getting on that angle there. So I didn't have any no formal education on that or anything else like that. But that's something that hasn't been a thing only recently. You can go to school for game design, you know what I mean? Like 20 years ago, what the hell were you going, it's just whatever you had. So as you can see here, and Chuck's got some gear too. I played a lot of airsoft back in the day. Yeah, bust out the airsoft guns here. So playing airsoft, and I actually I had done some games back in the day, like 100-player games, So we would kind of design games based on scenarios and fun stuff to play. So that was kind of like I want to say that was kind of like coinciding along with my development in PR, like how to make games fun but accessible, and at the same time something different. You know what I mean? So that kind of helped me a lot when I first getting started. Obviously, airsoft versus video games is completely different format, because respawning in an airsoft game is a lot more tedious. But I do credit airsoft to a lot of the things of like thinking of like outside the box and how to get interesting ideas to move more freely in a game. So yeah, that's a good question. But Chuck,
Yep.
There's my I might
Does
give this
your-
one to you, buddy. Do you
Is
have
your
one?
car, your car 15?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like
There's
the
one.
the one I got here is actually a gas like M4.
Yeah, so you got a little better.
WS.
This is
yeah.
gas,
So
but this is a lower end one. Yeah.
okay, yeah. This is like a Tokyo Marui one, so it's
Shit!
like pretty top of the line.
You
Like
ordered that online?
yeah. It's like I've shot it. I actually changed like the recoil buffer in it, so it's actually extremely like hard kicking.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
because you're not
more
worried about
suitable
range.
for animation.
Yes, you don't need range. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your
no.
honeycomb look like on there? Is there honeycomb on the ACOG?
No.
Okay.
It's like there's no
Kill flash?
there's no kill flash on it.
Yeah. And I noticed in the change logs there, in the commit logs, you were changing the opacity on that in the game
Yeah. I think to make it a little less
based on
kind of
some
in your
feedback.
face. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I noticed a question in the chat regarding like animation and like how long it took to say animate like the LA5 or like a completely new weapon. Actually, like I think because with the LA5 specifically, like I did that with that weapon set a long time ago. Like in the Project Reality days, so I have a kind of like a mental image as to how I wanted to like animate it, and it was more of a case of just like getting the asset, making sure that it's all rigged up to like the weapon skeleton and getting it into the engine, all that doesn't take very long, probably like 1 or 2 days. But obviously, like there's all lead up to that with like the 3D artists creating the asset in the first place. But then once it gets to me, it's actually a pretty fast process. So like getting it into the engine probably takes about a day or two, and then animating it. Depending on how many like variants there are, it could take between 1 or 2 weeks, and then there's also iteration after that. So like I do a first pass, then obviously I show it to our guys. I kind of stew on it for a little bit, and then I make small improvements to the animation, like pretty much up until release.
Chuck's a beast on animating. As I remember in PR, all the revisions he would do, like, because you do it and then they'd be like, that you didn't get this drill, like the extra little bit in there. Okay, he did that. Oh, it doesn't look like he's
doesn't look like that. Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's doing it with enough force. He looks too
Yeah.
careful and too manipulative. So, that looks too fast. He's so Chuck's does like multiple iterations on it. It's pretty cool.
And that's only the animation side too. You're not including like the artists that are blocking out and modeling too. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Chuck's just
I'll be right back.
Cool.
Yeah. So somebody got a lot of questions here. It looks like
there's a good one for you about game modes that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so like for the express purpose of actually working on the Brits, I actually acquired this.
Nice.
So like this is I think it's like a G&G like LA5, which is electric, but like it weighs a ton. Like it is probably like 1.5 to 2 times heavier than the M4. And what I was greatly surprised about was that of its weight, but also its actual weight distribution, because like it's pretty back heavy, but with the addition of this rail here, it kind of bounces up just a little bit. So its point balance is actually pretty centered, unlike the M4 where it's actually just a little bit more dipping towards the front. So then like I take all that into account. Like it really helps me just kind of like figure out the style of like animation I want with it. And best of all, actually,
excuse to keep buying more and more airsoft guns.
Pretty much, yeah. It definitely helps me to obviously have it in my hands and figure out the body mechanics behind it, because like it's very easy for me to kind of get a little bit lost in making it look pretty, but then it kind of gets a little bit unrealistic where like the character is basically trying to hold it in like one hand up in the air without having some kind of proper support or like tucking it underneath their armpit. That kind of thing.
Yeah, because a bullpup versus a carbon, like the typical M4, that's going to be quite a bit different the way the gun functions. So.
Yeah.
Nice to take all that into account.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, I did notice a question about actually firing firearms. Yeah. Like we did like quite a number of like range visits here in Vancouver. And we went with not only a bunch of ex-servicemen, but also with Sergeant Ross. And if he's shot a lot when he was in the Marines. So like being able to shoot with him, it was a big treat. It was like I got to learn a lot about proper positioning, like the how the act of shooting like should be translated into a game like ours, because there are lots of like ways to obviously interpret that, but then it's like something that me as an animator and as someone who works on a game like this, like I definitely needed that first-hand experience.
Yeah.
Really Ross is good at describing, kind of translating an experience into a feel and kind of like doing that. But yeah, there really kind of is no mistaking actually going to a firing range and feeling how a gun behaves and the quirks in it and things like that. And like you do a phenomenal job of modeling it. It really shows through. Yeah. You wanted to add something?
I'm looking through the chat here. There's some questions or topics that people bringing up. I don't know if this is just freewheeling or can we because somebody's mentioned vehicle gameplay. I was just going to comment on that real quick.
Yeah, jump in if you see somebody you want to hop on. It
Cool.
helps to call out somebody's name. They like to
So
know who they're talking to.
Doctor Hacks 12 is is talking about vehicle gameplay. He says it's a bit fun at the moment. Too many one-shot kills with the mines, the hat, and the tow. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that sentiment. We want to make the vehicles powerful, but not overwhelmingly so. So that balance is a difficult one to get in, especially with the first iteration of how the vehicle damage system works. So yeah, don't expect like, oh, this is good, this is done. You know, this is how we want it. The hat, yeah, that's temporary at the moment. You know, the AT4 is obviously not a heavy anti-tank weapon. It's like you could call it like a medium because it's the M72. It's just basically an upgraded M72. So that's going to change once we get the actual proper heavy AT kit on the US and Britain. But
Yeah,
for now,
we showed off like the javelin in like a recap a long time ago.
oh, cool.
We obviously still have it.
Yeah.
It's just we're kind of waiting to get in the heaviest of assets, which is like obviously the tanks, and then we will bump that particular asset up in terms of priority.
Yeah. But so with vehicle gameplay, I don't want to go too far in depth, but yeah, definitely the damage system is this is its first iteration. The next step to it, is the component damage, which will give you. We want mobility kills, right? Like or the ability to damage a player vehicle so you can't drive. So he has to bring in repairs to get it repaired, or just basically get disabled, and then the enemy can kind of swarm him.
Yeah.
So, but we want the vehicles though to still be powerful and to give them a chance. And I do feel right now, as you said, it's a little unfun at the moment because it's very harsh for the drivers. If you screw up, you're toast. Or if like you don't even screw up, it's so there's a couple things we can go on with that. I believe we still need some more fidelity with even the light anti-tank weapons, the way they fire or the velocity of the rounds, or just the way the rocket is relatively firing all the way out to 400 meters. You have a little bit of a deviation there. It would be cool to get a little more because you got a lot, like especially in RPG, you got a lot of factors in with an RPG. Wind is huge. You know what I mean? There's no factoring of the wind in at all. We're not going to go into that great detail, but yeah, we don't want rocket sniping or RPG sniping from 400 meters out on a vehicle. It's not such a great dynamic that we want in the game. We do want them to get a little closer, but we do want that. So this is the first iteration where, hey, you can get behind a vehicle and destroy them from behind. So I think players are still a little unfamiliar with that. They're still treating, I'm sure as time goes on, they're going to realize it more and more, but they're still treating vehicles, the drivers especially, like doesn't matter, but it does. Your front-facing armor versus your rear-facing armor is a huge difference. So having your infantry, if you're an APC, having some infantry cover your rear is super important. And actually, I say that, but we had this assault happen on Saturday where we were pushing up with 2 APCs. Everything was going great. We left it was on Narva. We left our rear completely exposed. Enemy, we were 2 strikers. Enemy BTR is either the 80. I think it was just the 80. It wasn't even the 82. Came in behind us and just blasted us. Completely caught us off guard. I'm like, well. I should have had some rear protection there. That was pretty dumb of me.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's still coming into its own there, but we do want to see the vehicles used a lot, and especially in coordination with the infantry. Like I said but earlier, we want to get these squads moving, working more seamlessly together, and that's a big design goal and task for sure. But that's our that's our objective anyway. So it's nowhere near there yet, but it's where we're moving towards. Oh, go ahead, Chuck. Sorry, spamming about.
No, that's right. Yeah, I think Wei mentioned before, with the components damage system, we want to skew way more towards like things like mobility kills and like basically disabling the vehicle without completely destroying it, which is like what is happening pretty much all the time at the moment, right?
Yes, exactly. The insta kill is not with the tow is difficult because the tow is like in real life very, very powerful weapon, right? There's not a lot of things you can do against that. So it's still up in the air about the insta kill. So for now it's an insta kill because that's kind of true to life, but and just even some more subtle feedback on the thing. I think like something like a mine kill, for example. Let's say a mine destroys the vehicle or something like an MRAP where it's supposed to have protection against a mine. Maybe it doesn't kill the people inside. It just destroys the vehicle and then you have to get out. That's just an example of how to make the vehicle play a little more forgiving, so it's not entirely black screen, you're dead. It's more like we want to give more incentives to people playing vehicles, but playing them the way we're intending, like as a supporting infantry rather than running around and just kind of looking for kills. Because that was the case, prior to V11. You could just kind of free roam the map, and your only other real threats, other than getting really close to flags, was enemy vehicles. So now the case is not that. If the enemy sets up tows in proper areas, they can lock you down. They can take you out, and you can't just drive around freely. So that's a good change. But yeah, it's kind of tilted more towards vehicles are less fun now because you're going to get killed if you make a wrong move, or even if it was a valid move, but just wrong place at the wrong time, you're instantly dead. So yeah, it's a fine balance there. But yeah, there's a shitload of chat now. Oh, backup sites. Chuck Friendly Nikolai, he makes cool videos.
Yeah.
He's asking about them. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely do want them as well.
Yeah.
Except we have a current code limitation that okay, so our original intent was to actually put them on the site adjustment.
When you
the hold X scroll wheel thing. Yeah. I actually forgot what we called it, but then but then we have a bit of a code limitation at the moment where it's like you can't change the zoom level when you actually go into a backup site. So it's it's like you still have your 4x ACOG zoom, but on like your on your Red Dead RMR. So we didn't want that, so we just decided to shelve it for now. But who knows?
Yeah, that's so cool how we had that in PR. I don't know if you guys, everybody in the chat has played PR, but the fact that we were able to get that in that game was quite something, right? Like on the specific, I don't know if it's on every gun in that game. Like it's definitely on the L85 though, right, Chuck? The backup sites.
Yeah. It was on like the SUSAT.
The SUSAT, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think on like the British ACOGs, they ran with a backup red dot that was on top of the ACOG.
That's right. Oh yeah, and like the Israelis or something like that had the Tavor, that weird ass gun. I think had some backup.
I don't think that had a backup site though.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I was thinking of another one, but
yeah. The M145 Alcans did. Like they had a really crappy like.
That's right.
like rubberized iron sight that was on top of the thing.
Hey, don't call it crappy. I used that thing back in the day in the Canadians.
I'm not talking about the actual like telescopic sight.
I know.
I'm talking about the rubber iron sights.
Yeah, it's like the most basic of like line up the two dots and shoot. Yeah, but Canadians had scopes before scopes were cool. We had the LCAN before, like way before the US adopted ACOGs.
Yep.
But yeah, that I agree. Backup sites are cool, but yeah, it's kind of so you got people.
I did see a couple good questions for Chuck, and now that A10 is in, what does the roadmap for animations look like? Are we going to see idle animations, vehicle idle animations? Is there anything that we can be looking
Yeah.
forward to?
I think like a lot of what we want to do with the animation system does actually hinge on a lot of like other bigger ticket items. So like uh, a rework of like our like of our inventory system, and also our like vehicle seat system as well. So I would say pending on those, like I we are doing like sort of the asset groundwork for things like vehicle animations and like being able to turn out, for example, in a
That would be awesome.
in like a particular seat. But then again, also like that stuff really does involve like a lot of different departments. So I can't obviously make any promises there.
Yeah, for sure. Someone wants to know, Chuck, who's the computer behind you? Because I think they've had some leaks.
Yeah, that's Bruno. I think he's
That's
been putting
Bruno.
he's put up like a big notepad sign saying leak on it.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Hang on, I think you can see the back of his head.
Oh yeah. There
Like
you
that.
go.
There you go, leaks.
Leaks.
Hot leaks.
Hot leaks. Yeah.
Perfect. Right on. Let's see. Yeah. There's so many things we could talk about, but
Yeah,
the
if you
game
want,
modes, the game modes thing. Somebody is bringing up game modes. Because yeah, we've had a cool discussion about because there are some game modes that the mods are trying, right? So I would like to actually try a couple of those out when they become like compatible with V11, because that's what I mean. Every time we ship a new version, there's so many changes going on in the game right now that sometimes it breaks the mod, sometimes it doesn't. So like I know there's that destruction game mode, a couple other game modes. So I'm gonna give them a try as soon as they're up and running on the server and get population. But in terms of our own game modes that OWI is working on, we have some really cool shit coming up. So I think I've mentioned it in a couple places, and Ross has probably mentioned it too. We would like to see a game mode take shape that doesn't replace AAS, but essentially it maybe surpasses it, or it's got at least equal play to AAS. So and territory control, for all intents and purposes, looks like one of those game modes that could very well do that, depending on how it gets designed. But effectively, it's like AAS, but more a little more granular in the way the areas are captured, and also expanding. As far as game modes, I would like to see an expansion of resource management. I mean, I know that sounds kind of like lame, but what I mean by that is like right now we've got effectively got tickets, we got construction, and we got ammo points. But that's all very static, you could say. For example, this is kind of talking about game modes, but talking more about game design. For example, right now we have construction and ammo, which is completely unlimited. We haven't really gone into any depth on the limitation of, so you can effectively have your logi runs just keep going back and forth, unlimited amounts of things, right? So adding some limitations there, and adding, for example, resource injection every 5 minutes at your main base, you're getting resources. Simulating, let's say, supplies or whatever you want to say, but really for gameplay purposes, we're going for creating a scarcity of resources, so that way capturing things on the actual battlefield gives you benefits to your resources. So that's something that hasn't been modeled yet at all, and that's something with territory control and perhaps AAS even we can kind of dive into to get some more interesting dynamics with how that happens. And obviously if you're able to parse out the vehicles from the tickets, like your tickets are your respawns actually, and vehicles just kind of, when you lose a vehicle, you lose tickets. But if you're able to parse that out and have a separate vehicle resupply pool to it, you could get some interesting stuff there. I know Ross has talked a lot about wanting to separate or give the ability for players to choose their vehicle. Like, so I want an APC for my squad. I use the vehicle resource points, and we get the APC rather than it just, because right now it's very simplistic, like BF2 standard, that it just spawns in. It blows up every 5 minutes.
It's
After
always
5 minutes
there.
or whatever. Yeah, it just comes back. Rather than I want this vehicle because I have a specific purpose for this vehicle. I'm consciously choosing this vehicle, knowing that it's taking resources that I've either earned or a set amount of resources that I only have a set pool. So yeah, that's kind of stuff that I'm really interested in seeing, and I think we can do it where it's not so complicated, but so public players can just come jump in, grab their stuff and go, or if it's out, it's out. But I think the more competitive guys would find that really interesting, because then you got these interesting matchups. And one more thing I want to talk about with that is so you got territory control, which I'm you guys, if you're unfamiliar with, effectively we're going with hexes. So rather than flags, which is like radiuses, circular boxes, it's hex shaped. So what a hex is like a six-sided? No, eight-sided.
It's 6-sided.
Hex is 6.
Six-sided, and it has two sides have to be connected in order to capture the next territory. So effectively, you can't just go straight up one line and capture all the way down. You have to have two sides to connect. So you kind of slowly take it piece by piece. And like I said, with resources, the outer pieces, like let's say it's 4 across, you could have the outer pieces not cost as much as the inner pieces, or territories that are more, like it's got some crucial thing in it that could give you more resource in your resource injection. So this opens up a lot of interesting dynamics with the game, while still we don't want to open up the entire map, because we did that before in PR, and it with command and control, we had a command and control and it didn't you want to still, the good thing about AAS is it really focuses the battle, but that also limits the replayability of it, right? So
Because you're always going down the same routes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to find a good balance between focused battle, where everybody, you can get your whole team in on an objective, but also giving you enough variety so that you can approach it in different ways. So AAS, we definitely want territory control is kind of like a tertiary thing for this next release. If we can get there, we want to get there. But AAS random and the rework of AAS is the primary thing. So we want to really focus on increasing the replayability of AAS. So there will still be static layers for AAS, but we really want to push this the randomness to it. So I'm sure you guys will see more information about that as it kind of comes together. But yeah, definitely pushing the replayability of that mode, so that like random is not in the sense that, oh, it could be a flag anywhere. It's a set number of flags. If you guys have played PR, you kind of get the idea. Set number of flags that at the start of each round, a different layer is chosen each time. So it's kind of like you don't really play the same layer twice, because the flags could have shifted. But it's done in such a way that it's not going to be like, all right, now I got to go all the way up in the north, now I got to go all the way in the south. It's still done in somewhat of a it makes sense, the flow of it. However, it's just to improve the randomness, or the fact that you cannot just, all right, I know exactly where I'm going each time. I've played this map before, so there's a little bit of more random chance. And something to be said about bleed in that regard. That's why, in some ways, ticket bleed. That's one of the negatives of ticket bleed, is if you have Ticket Bleed, at least the way it was in V9, it's really difficult to balance a map, because if a enemy team gets to the middle flag first, effectively they have locked up the map, and it's going to be a downhill battle, really an uphill battle for the people who don't own the middle to get there. So yeah, the main thing is giving it no bleed, or rather a different kind of bleed, really gives you that, okay, we didn't take the middle, but that's fine because we can still get there, right? So it's a little kind of different mindset than what people are used to. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot more to be said about that, but
I think with like a lot of these future game modes as well, the unit, the user interface out of it needs to also catch up, and provide like a very easy to understand visual platform, so you can understand obviously what the game was all about, and how you can see things like your team's resources and stuff like that. So I think we'll definitely delve a lot more into those more prototype game modes once we get the user interface rework done.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a super pumped. Can we talk about the map screen at all, Chuck? I know it hasn't really been.
I guess we can. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of work done on it yet, other than the prototyping.
Yeah,
But
but the caveat out there that these are the hopes and dreams, not the guaranteed final product. Yeah.
You
Yes.
crush.
Yeah, no, but it just that I already had said something in Reddit, like I know people were kind of putting out their ideas there of like, oh hey, wouldn't it be nice to have this on the map screen, that on the map screen? So I just kind of put it out there that yes, this version we're having a focus on the map screen, and I know you're saying that in a broader sense the entire UI, but as a squad leader, I know that map screen is super important. So I've kind of like laid out my a wish list, a squad leader's wish list for what we would like to see on a map screen in order to give the squad leader better tools to work together with other squad leaders, and just really bring up your situational awareness on the game. You know, because you can go the armor route, hardcore armor, where you literally can't see anything on the map, and it's just like a literal map, right? And you can like mark things, but it's only marked for yourself. So we're not going that way. We're going in the way that giving the squad leader as many tools as possible in order to facilitate working together. So and the flexibility. I mean, that's the plan, anyways. Like for example, a filter system where you can filter the information on the map. So
like
go
flight
with
radiuses,
yes,
fog radiuses, like all that data visualization.
yes,
We're trying to get on top of. But yeah, I mean, like this entire rework is going to be very iterative, I feel.
mm-hmm.
So like with the animation system. So like in V10, the animation system was like what we call the first iteration of it, and then V11 definitely was like a step up from there, where we tweaked a lot of things, added smaller things to make it obviously run better, but also look and also perform better in
Right.
some areas. So I feel that that this user interface rework is also going to take like a little bit of time to get to that final vision.
Yeah. I'm super pumped. Anyways, even adding some more basic functionality will be a massive improvement for squad leaders. So
Yep.
that's something I should ask for the chat. Tell me, chat, if you're a squad leader, what would you like to see? It doesn't have to be a map screen related, but just in general, as a squad leader, to make your life easier, either tools or different kinds of the game. I would love to hear some thoughts on that, because fire team says that's the first thing that everyone says. But yeah, it's basically that's, as a designer, we want to encourage more and more squad leaders to step up, and that's something I've noticed anyways, is you always get a server with like 9 full squads, and that's it. We're hoping we can get, and then nobody wants to step up because it's so much responsibility, but we're hoping to get it to be like, all right, I want to do it. It's kind of fun, right? So it's a challenge for sure. So let's see what some people said. Commander, fire teams, and the commander. That's the first thing.
Yep.
So it's on the design plan.
Definitely take into account.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like we're like, oh, what's that? No, we definitely, but it might take a little while. Fancy uniforms. Like what? Like a pink uniform?
A big gold stallion helmet.
Yeah. The Russians get those weird helmets.
Someone did mention that they would like a better UI. UI is coming. We touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is UI improvements coming for squad leaders.
Yeah. Commander. Armor map. More markers. Fancy gun to kill the one that don't respect the orders. Like a gun that you can team kill with that doesn't give you a team kill penalty. The commandant gun. The Russians only.
Yeah, the political officer role.
Yeah. No, changes coming to the spawn mechanics and medics in VA12. Perhaps what's planned after that. All right. Well, I don't know. Can we talk about that? Spawn mechanics, medics.
Maybe pretty experimental, I'd say.
Yeah. So we're still in the early, like, what had happened? V11 went out. What has it been, a week now? A week since today?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
yeah. So
the
V11
test been running like a week before.
Yeah,
that, yeah.
a week before that. So V11's been out for a week. Obviously, programmers needed some downtime because it was a kind of a crunch to get everything in. So this has been hotfix week. Hotfix. We have one of our producer, Norby. He's out of town right now in a secret meeting. So
with Ross.
He's not
with Ross.
With Ross. Yeah. So that might be cool. They might get to talk about that next time they're on. Because Norby was supposed to be here, wasn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was unable to make it because he had to fly to Texas to do an event thing.
So Norby's out of town, so he's the producer. He's the one that usually pushes the hot fixes. So had that not occurred, the hot fix would have probably been out today or tomorrow. But hot fix will be out soon. So that's the main kind of what's been going down. Obviously there's a lot of, and I made some errors, and also there's some balancing with the tickets and whatnot for V11. So that's going to come out as soon as possible, and then after that, that's when we're going to start getting to work on some of these systems, like the spawn system and the medic system, like reworking. I don't want to talk too much about it yet because it's still kind of
still very early days, I feel.
Early days, like I don't want to talk about things until the programmers really sink their teeth into it and go like, this is this is going to be doable, or like, well, this, because a lot of things are, I think it's when you start having to test on dedicated, that's when you can see if the problems creep up, right? So
the bugs happen.
Yeah. So I don't want to say all these things. Like there is a design plan in place, and it's going to be different and but in a good way, I think, promoting more teamwork. And I'll just say in a general sense, for spawning and medics, we want to lean more towards players valuing their life, and we want to design the game in a way that a player who has 0 deaths, and not someone who just sits in the corner of the map, but if you have a 0 deaths, or like a low number of deaths, 1, 2, 3 deaths or whatever, that's the kind of play we want to more encourage. So a more, I don't want to say slower, but a more thoughtful approach to the gameplay. So if you've got like 10 or 15 or 20 deaths, you can play like that. Like that's the beauty of Squad. You can jump in and play it exactly like Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Just jump in and just go like crazy, die. Go like crazy, die. And you couldn't do that in a game like Arma or something. Well, some mods you can, but so that's the beauty of Squad. You can have a variety of different play styles. However, we do want to incentivize the players that are a little more cautious and encourage them. So, player with 1 or 2 or no deaths or whatever, those are the kind of player we want to incentivize that gameplay a little more with the spawn system. So, but at the same time, of course, we want to make it accessible and fun, and for the people who spawn die, we want to make it so that they can still play. But we don't necessarily want to reward those players maybe as much as we have in the past. With the rally point being the launching pad for most attacks. You know what I mean? That's kind of the current play style. Is you squad leader sets a rally point, everybody goes and does their attack, does their own thing, dies, come back on the rally, and the whole 9 spawns thing is kind of a band-aid fix to that problem, because everyone knows it's just easy. Oh, there's 1 or 2 spawns left. Squad leader spawn in. Once the next guy spawns in or he comes by, squad leader refreshes the rally, and then back to your old shenanigans. So that was never, I think, that was a placeholder for another system to take over, like a more thought out system. But it kind of got put on the back burner because of just all the programming rework for A10. So I think now we're in a good place. We're able to kind of approach that better. So yep, I don't want to go too more in detail on the spawning, but yeah, I can't keep up with the chat, man. There's so much shit.
Stomopoulos had a good question I think you can kind of both weigh in on. Are there any plans to kind of differentiate the factions more readily through like game modes, mechanics, visuals, like give them more distinct, more style, more flavor? I know it's something we've talked about, maybe some spawn mechanics, things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have, we've got the different factions here. We essentially have conventional factions and unconventional factions. So you're going to see conventional factions, like for example, with tanks when they get in, you're probably going to see mostly conventional factions fighting with tanks. So that's going to be more of a straight up fight. Whereas unconventional factions, I'm doing a little bit of a overhaul on that. Insurgents aren't necessarily the best faction for a game mode like AAS. So we're trying to encourage insurgents on more of the game modes like invasion and stuff like that, where it can be more of a asymmetrical fight. So and even militia too, because we are trying to define them more, but at the same time, it's difficult to find that balance when not all the systems are in place yet. I know insurgents are getting some cool stuff. I don't know if that's coming up now, or Chuc, you want to talk about that?
I don't think. Well, what I was thinking of was like in the future command role, like we're planning the ability for those commanders to actually use like certain powers. We actually had something like that in like the prototype stage a long time ago, like probably early V9. If anyone remembers that map Zangros, like we had the A10 fly in and do a bombing run and all the other cool stuff. So we want to try to actually revisit that, and then to build on that, like we also thought that like a pretty neat way of actually differentiating between the different factions was to actually give them unique commander style powers. So in that sense, you could have like a Blue Force faction like the Americans or the Brits use very heavy air power, compared to say the insurgents who rely more on local intel or ways to disrupt enemy communications. But all that is still in the very early design stage.
Hey, there's a question here. Someone keeps reposting it. Spamming, but it works. Shouldn't give in to them. Can we be allowed as squad leaders to assign roles to squad members? Yeah, that's an interesting kind of design discussion you could have. We definitely, if and when, I'm hoping when we get fire teams into the game, that's definitely going to be a squad leader designation. Like squad leaders are the ones who gets to assign the fire team. It's not the player that chooses. But I don't think that's what you're asking. You're probably asking, can a squad leader somebody joins your squad, and then you go, Chuc joins my squad, and Chuck's like, sweet, I'm grabbing the marksman. I can't wait. And then I go, no, Chuc, you got the fucking medic. You're medic now, bitch. And then, and now he's either got to accept his role or leave the squad. That's an interesting design discussion. I mean, because then you've got some squad leaders that are like, cool, man, be whatever you want. And then you got other squad leaders that are hardline, like, no, you are what role I assigned you, and that's it. From a technical feasible standpoint, Chuc, that probably wouldn't be too difficult, right? It would require some UI overhaul, but I think from a programming standpoint, that's not too difficult. However, it is taking away players' choice, so you've got to factor in, like, as a designer, okay, a new player joins the game, and if he doesn't get to choose his role, or his role is forced upon him, that's a difficult thing to grasp, because if that new player is joining a squad leader, essentially you have to play this game in a squad. It's not like other games where you can choose whatever role you want. The roles are not restricted, and you happen to join the squad, No, in our game, you literally have to join the squad, and your choices are already restricted. So yeah, I won't comment more. Like, I think it's a good idea or bad idea. It is an interesting idea. From a technical feasibility standpoint, I think it is possible. I mean, that's pretty much a non-answer as they get, but it is a good discussion though to be had. Whether it's a server option, whether squad leaders can assign or not, based on if the server feels that's a good idea. But yeah, Chuc, this is a good one.
I'm curious, would it ever be something that you would see like the vehicle request thing, where you can join a squad and request the kit, so you're not actually having anything taken away or assigned, you're trying to allot resources or something.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that is annoyance in a, like, you make a squad, you're trying to get it online, and then somebody joins and they're not really wanting to play with your squad, they just wanted the kit, right? That is a going into a broader but design mechanic in squad, where we're incentivizing the largest squad possible, due to the fact that the larger the squad, the more special kits are available there. And this does a lot of things, because you have more players, you have less squad leaders and more, so you have less squads in general, so that the squad leaders that are leading those squads have more responsibility because they have more players in their squad. So that in turn creates this dynamic of, I don't want to be a squad leader because it's a lot of responsibility. So I'm hoping we can kind of come at that design with different in a different way, because we do want to encourage specialized squads. We want to encourage, oh, you want to be a logistics squad with a couple guys, that's cool. You want to be a APC squad, you want to be a tank squad, we want to diversify and have these specialty squads out there, so that people can play and not feel a lot of pressure. Like, you've got 9 frontline infantry squads. And for the longest time, that was it. That's the way you had to play. 9 frontline infantry squads, 2 attack, 2 defend, or you could pull one of your defenders and have 3 attack, or pull one of your attackers and have 3 defend. But we want to branch out a little bit more and have it a little more flexibility with the squads, and that's part of the AS bleed changes, is that it's not all about that middle flag. So much of the game is tied to these kind of things. So yeah, it's complicated when you get into that kind of role selection. But yeah, definitely it's all kind of linked together. But like I said, we want to bring more choice to the players and reward players for more thoughtful gameplay and less just. You can still
Chaos.
run in, jump in. Yeah, you can still jump in and go right to the front line. That's always going to be a thing, but we don't necessarily need to reward players for that mentality, because that's just going to be a standard FPS mentality. We do need to reward more thoughtful play, though. That's something that that I'm always thinking about. Well, how can we reward the players who are a little more thoughtful?
I did see a repeated question about body dragging.
Body dragging. That's what I was
Yeah,
going to ask you. Yeah.
that-
What do you think?
Okay.
Curious.
The actual technical, the actual design side. Putting aside the actual design side of it, it's
Yes.
actually a huge technical hurdle
Challenge.
that,
Yeah.
that we're constantly running into every time we attempt to do it. It's more or less to do with the way ragdoll is actually being done right now.
Right.
That's why you see a lot of really funky things happen when like a player ragdolls and like they could fly up
Medics try and get
into
them
the
up.
sky or
Yeah.
they just glitch out. So I think at some point we'll be looking at actually trying to address that ragdoll issue. There's also been a lot of groundwork done, at least on the animation asset side, about like at the last motion capture session, we captured a whole bunch of like death animations from various angles, and in different like kind of hit scenarios. So we built a actual animation asset library that,
Cool.
that we could tap into.
One quick thing I want to mention about that, I saw this in your original design. I was looking through all the original design docs from like, what was it, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, which I think is a clever thing. I don't know if that's still technically feasible, but when the guy is on the ground and he's wounded, right now we have it so that he's just laying there motionless. But if and when they have a some kind of hurt kind of guy, I'm still incapacitated but not dead. As long as that shows to the friendlies and not the enemy team, I think that's a big design. That's a smart way to go about it, because you can see with other games when there's incapacitated players,
They're writhing on the ground, and
if they're doing that,
another target.
yeah, exactly. So then you're just war crimes, just shooting bodies everywhere. Like it's like double tap. Okay, double tap the body. Double tap. So yeah, we want to avoid that because if you do it that route, if you don't do the route that I just mentioned, you do that route, you either have two choices. You can kill incapacitated players, or you can't kill them. In either way, it's a bad design, right? Because if you can kill them, then no one's going to get revived. And if you can't kill them, it's frustrating seeing this guy on the ground moving around and you're just riddling him with bullets and grenades and nothing's happening to him. So yeah, if it's feasible, I think the best way to do it about that is show the animation of him, being hurt or whatever to the friendly side, and just show a body on the enemy side. But obviously that runs into replication issues, right? Because having that.
I think this is a giant task that obviously is like cross.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about this. This is just us talking about it.
Yeah, and right now I think our priorities really are like the big ticket items, like tanks and choppers and like hitting that 100 player mark. So
yep,
those are our like number one top of the pile things that like obviously we would love to hit everything, but we only have a certain amount of people and a certain amount of time to actually do it in.
Yep. But I like to talk about these things as a designer. I like to talk about what is potentially and if you were to go that route, what would be the best route. So there's a lot, like you guys. I was going through the backlogs. You guys have a huge design backlog of with Ross, going through all his files. He's got a huge design backlog of like cool stuff to be included and how you would go about it. But like Chuck said, priorities are just getting the game to a state where you've got that combined arms game and that feel, a little bit of feeling like Project Reality, where you've got all the assets and the choice. The choice is key, right? So you've got a choice of how to approach things, and then once that happens, adding all these extra little things is like icing on the cake, right? Because I'm sure
or
Chuck, you'll probably be happy, Chuck.
little big things. Or,
Yeah, it's because you can say, oh, that's because to a player that's a little thing. Oh, the guy on the ground, he's moving around, right? He's in capacity, he's moving around. To a player, that's like such a minor, like, yeah, that should be. Why isn't that in the game? That should be in the game. But to a designer, that's a huge problem, right? Because like I just said, you don't want to be able to shoot him, or if he doesn't shoot him, it's glitchy as hell. And then in technical side, that's huge, right? Like, how do we go about doing that?
How do we treat someone? Yeah,
it's incredibly complex. But to a player, it's just so straightforward. Like, yeah, why isn't that in there already? Like, you guys are fucking slacking.
But this is also one of those great questions where people ask, like, what are you going to do after Squad releases? We have a shit ton of ideas that are really cool, and like there's no shortage of years and years worth of development that can be done on Squad. So
like our intent is to ride the tail as long as we can.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I bet you you're looking forward to a day that like you're not necessarily like, all right, we got this huge log of like features that need to be in, but rather, all right, all the main features are in. Now, what's the cool thing we can add that like like this is a cool feature. This like I want to work on this, you know what I mean, and get it in game, and not necessarily have to be like, well, this needs to be in the game already. It should have been in the game last month. It needs to be in.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure it'll be a nice feeling for everybody who's been on this. Because what has it been 4 years now for you guys?
We started beginning of 2014. So we're actually almost 4 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
From a bunch of I think it was like 10 guys with a budget of $0.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, and now it's around 50, right? Maybe 30 full timers or
45 to 50.
Yeah, and then you got contractors. So are you guys aiming for realism? I just read. Now we're aiming for like cartoon. We're gonna switch the game design to be more like Sea of Thieves.
I really want to be the Team Fortress 2 of the Milsim community. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. There's a lot of comments. Dying during the slow prone animation. So the slow prone animation virus is talking about. Okay. So he's talking about when you go prone. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. You don't really have to go into details, Chuck, but yeah, I get what people are saying. There's like people want granularity with the animation system, and I think this is another one of those like nice to have but not essential. So like you double tap Z, for example, and you literally like throw your gun on the ground and you get down immediately, but you can't shoot for like 10 seconds after that because you have to like find your gun. You know what I mean? I'm just talking more in like a real life sense, right? Like if shit hits the fan, there's bullets flying. You're gonna get down as quickly as possible. You're not gonna like take your time to get down. But so what we have in game is kind of like a mix between the two, right? Essentially, you're getting down pretty quickly. Like this is a very hard thing to get down on the ground. I don't think people realize that. Like animation wise,
they also even what we have in game is actually a sped up version of what we tested as well. So
because if people, that's something like if you're holding a weapon, if you've got a ton of gear on you, you have plates. You've got these Kevlar plates on the front, back, and sides. Getting down on the ground is not. You can't just flop on the ground. However, I understand what people are saying. If the bullets are flying, yeah, you can go down as fast.
In your mind,
yeah, you can get down as fast as you humanly can, but you're not going to be shooting right away, right? Your gun's going to be on the ground, and you're going to be like, your head in the sand kind of thing until you get until you're able to pick yourself up. So, yeah, so people are saying, oh, I'm dying too fast because this prone animation is taking forever. So yeah, having a granularity there where you double tap Z and you get down real fast, but then you can't shoot for a while would be a cool feature. I agree, but it's not necessarily something that I think is required at the what I mean, like, because we're still working on things that are literally just they're not in the game yet. They need to be in the game.
Yeah, well, I almost wonder if it wouldn't be part of the suppression system, because you'd have a lot of similar. I mean, in a situation where you're having your head blown off and you got to dive, you'd probably have the suppression in there too.
Yeah, yep, and that's something we haven't talked about, but that is something we are You know what I mean? Like people keep asking me about it. Suppression, and like, yes, actually that's I don't want to make any promises, but that's on the design plan for this next version. So we're just gonna kind of there's already a system in place, I think, like
There's a
prototypes.
prototype. Yep.
Yeah,
There's
been
yeah,
prototypes.
there's a prototype. Yeah.
If
So
you want to hear about that, check out the last squad chat with Ross. He did talk about
yes,
aim
yeah,
punch and some of the tactics and how we want to approach suppression. So
yeah,
there's a good theory there too.
yeah. So I won't dive into those details. That's Ross's territory. But yeah, definitely, it's like we know there's no suppression right now, and that's from a player's point of view. I really want to see suppression as well as a designer's point of view, because I do want to see a firefight in the game right now. It does tend to be you shoot when you see a target, or not even when you see a target, when you know you can hit a target. And if you know you can't hit a target, or you can't see the target, you're not shooting because there's no point, right? I won't say there's no point, but it doesn't feel as much like a firefight that you're winning fire superiority as you feel like you're engaging targets individually. And in other games in PR it wasn't necessarily the case. There was a suppression system, and I know Ross has talked greatly about that, how shit the suppression was in PR because it just mangled your vision. It was a very dirty way of doing it, but it was effective. You know what I mean? Like it got people shooting their guns. As you get your whole squad to shoot at a target, that target keeps his head down. That's hopefully what we can get in squad without it being so janky, like PR was. So yeah, definitely suppression is on our minds. Like I don't know, you want to talk about that at all, Chuck?
No, I think we're actually fairly far along. That I think we might as well just wait until we publicly show what we've done.
Yeah. But we definitely want to see suppression because I'm super pumped to get that in the game. A little more suppression, especially when it comes to the machine guns and stuff like that. Getting them to be more a support role and less of like a guy on a hill with an ACOG with the saw. Just like he's like, all right, I'm a full auto sniper. It's like, yeah, well that is a thing you can do with that gun, but we want to make it more of a squad support weapon than your personal full auto sniper.
It's a big thing too, because you're talking about something that's going to impact people on toes too, where they're suddenly being suppressed, and that impacts vehicle gameplay, and like
Yep.
yeah, it's
Yeah. Oh, it's massive. Yeah, suppression changes the game literally, and I know it's a very controversial topic. I don't think it should be controversial because, like, yeah, you're getting shot at. Getting shot at should affect a player. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't just, and especially getting hit. That's the other thing. Like, hit effects need to be a little more apparent. Because getting hit right now, you're just kind of like, shake it off. You're either hit and you're just take out my bandage, or you're hit and you die. It would be nice to get a little more visceral feel to it with that regard. But you want to talk about the breacher role? Somebody's bringing that up. I don't think it's in the design plan at the moment for this version, but
No. Yeah, I think we're pushing up just a little bit more because like there are certain tools that we plan for the breacher. Like I think Sergeant Ross alluded to it in like the previous squad chat, but like things like a deployable standing ladder and like breaching charges as well. So like I think we were also waiting on a implementation of like something like doors, to fully flesh out the role. But at the moment, like we don't actually have a plan for or nothing concrete in terms of like moving forward with that at the moment. And I guess when you stack that up against as I said before, some of the bigger ticket items like tanks and helicopters is actually pretty far down that list.
Mm-hmm. Somebody was asking about running changes. Says it looks clumsy when the player moves his head I guess he's talking about
yeah, yeah.
shoulder.
That's in first person.
Yeah, first person.
We it's a little bit of a system challenge.
Is it? It's because it's
for
like
us.
you can actually see his shoulder move a bit, but it's the backpack strap. I feel like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
backpack strap that
Well,
you're looking, and it's like the backpack strap is not moving, but the actual bit of the shoulder is. It's like these are so minor things. I get it. It doesn't look
it
perfect.
doesn't look that great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it like the fix that we're so thinking about does actually require quite a bit of work.
It does. Yeah.
So yes, so it's something that
You're
we're just
aware of.
keeping. Yeah, we're definitely aware of, and we know it doesn't.
It's not like,
know
hey,
it-
this looks
yeah.
great.
We know it doesn't look good.
But the functionality is there. That's the important
The
bit.
functionality is there, except
Yeah.
the work actually required to address that. At the moment, like me personally, and also my team have bigger items to
Yes. Big time. Yep.
I did see a couple questions about both commander role and kind of any upgrades to the crewman kit that might be coming. I figured since we talked a little bit about the breacher role, you guys might have some insight there too.
Yeah. Well, Crewman Kit, I don't know what kind of upgrades they're thinking about, but it's basically a kit to use the vehicles. So, I mean, yeah, getting that's
It
another thing.
fulfills its purpose.
Yeah, like all right,
Yeah.
I want the carbon in there. All right, so now he's got a short. That's such a minor.
Someone had even suggested maybe like less weapons, so they're more focused on vehicles, or something like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
just kind
I
of
mean, I would.
optic
That's-
upgrades for drivers, things like those.
Oh, okay. So you don't mean necessarily the actual kit. You mean
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, a little bit more of the role. Yeah, that was my.
the actual because the kit itself is just the facilitating you getting in the vehicle without having I got a rocket launcher in.
Yeah.
But the actual driving,
Yeah. We actually have a very critical limitation right now with what we call turret on turret. So like if you imagine you have a commander's periscope on top of a tank turret, like we with our current code setup, which are actually looking to fix, you can't place a turret on top of another turret. And have that swivel independently of the thing below it. So like that is holy crap, you got a law.
Hey, look,
it's
sorry, it's French.
I was reading it in English and French.
Yes, just in case.
Just in
Sorry,
case.
continue.
Holy crap. Yeah. So like something like a command periscope isn't actually a problem with like the BTRs, for example, because
Right.
the command periscope isn't actually on the turret. It's actually on the main hull of the vehicle. But for other such vehicles like the Warrior or the Bradley, where the command periscope is actually on the turret, we can't do it right now with like what we have.
So what you're saying, we can't have turrets on turrets, and adding more turrets with your turrets.
That's our current limitation. But like that is something that pretty much everyone on the team would love to see. Basically, to give a lot more situational awareness to other members of like your crew, especially the driver.
Now, I really love the turning out in postscriptum. So seeing as how it is technically feasible, I'm sure eventually we're going to look at that, right? Like that is really cool in postscriptum. If you guys have seen it yet,
Yeah.
You go from like you're down. I think the lowest level
is like the viewport.
Is the viewport, yeah. And then you can go up to like, okay, you can just see around you, and they got a very basic but interior.
Yeah,
it's done, and then you can go up further and
open up the hatch.
Open the hatch, yeah. So that would be kind of cool. Like that kind of thing. I agree. Adds a lot of little bit of. It makes the crewman actually feel like he's in a big armored beast, rather than just this floating head, like this floating view, just looking around. So yeah, but like again, we're not in that phase yet where we're like, all right, we're gonna adding these awesome little details. We're still adding in like, we need toes, we need this, we need that. So adding the functionality first and then filling it in a little bit is it's kind of like going. I think how you're approaching a truck is like we're getting the major functional things in place, and then where we can get something additional, where it's like not as high cost, we get it in, and then fill it in as we go, as time developer time comes available.
Yeah. And to be fair, actually, to facilitate tanks in their full glory,
Yes.
the issue that I mentioned does actually need to be addressed.
Right. Yes.
But like at some point, so it's actually getting quite critical.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Custom Crewman Kit skins.
Yeah, that's definitely something that
Their little helmet cap things.
Yeah. That's something that we have in I guess it's on the list. Yeah,
Is on the list. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, what we have currently is basically just like a quick I guess like a placeholder. We just basically strip down like the basic rifleman kit, so it looks like the guy has the stuff on to be your crewman kit.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were saying, what is this? They want to be able to know if they can shoot out of the vehicle with their rifle. That's kind of like in the same kind of vein.
That's related to the CC issue that
yes, periscopes. And then obviously doing that, you can use IEDs, and that's kind of cool. That opens up some interesting gameplay aspects. Someone was asking, are you looking at more variations of vests for the Russian soldier models? You don't need any more. Look, we got the best one here. My old grad 2 vest.
That still fit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's old school, man. This thing got beat all the hell up. But the backpack. Yeah.
We got that on like the militia, I think.
Yeah, no, they got a shitload of them. I'm like, holy cow. And they're too clean in the game. Eventually, hopefully, we can get them, like a little more muddied up.
Really scuffed up.
Yeah, when we were talking about this, we're like, yeah, they're clean right now because the game's still new. But like in 5 years, they're gonna be all muddied up.
Yeah. By like version 5, they're just like a bunch of rags.
They've been through hell and back. So yeah, that would be kind of funny. Actually, if you notice the Bradley, Tom, who worked on it, Z Trooper, he did an amazing job on. Was it Z Trooper? No, that was Tim. Tim did the Bradley.
It was Tim. Yeah.
Yeah. I think both of them, but there's all that mud decals and stuff like that. Those little details on that thing, amazing. The art team is just
same with the Warrior, actually.
Yeah, they do the Warrior and the Bradley. They did. I mean, as like a designer, I'm focused on design, but then when I look at the art assets, I'm like, God damn, these guys put a lot of attention into detail. I'm always impressed when they come out with these new assets.
They're really good at what they do.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Arrows has a question. Are there plans for more mill versus insurgent layers? We've also kind of talked about that in the community feedback table, but I think
there's what
more plans militia? For militia versus insurgent layers. Sorry.
Yeah. I actually added a couple more for this hot fix. As I was talking about, we want to avoid insurgents on AAS layers. Just more specifically, insurgents versus conventional factions, which is pretty much all the you don't have like in that regard, I'm switching some of the maps that have militia or insurgents versus a blue 4 faction. We're going to switch out the blue 4 faction with the militia faction. So because they're not intended to be a 1-to-1 fight. So how it's been tweaked in the past is just increase the insurgents tickets, right? So they've got like 75 extra tickets than the other faction, but that still doesn't translate. Like, that translates to maybe balance in the fact that so sometimes the insurgents can win, sometimes Blue 4 can win, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a lot of fun to get beaten down by we got crushed. But hey, we still almost won. It's like no, it's So I mean, the whole thing is the optics, right? Most of the time on any of the larger maps,
Yeah.
optics, and then insurgents don't have
The
optics.
camouflage sometimes as well.
Yeah, camouflage as well. So yeah, we're hoping to like an invasion layer, for example. It gives the opportunity, like, all right, we know we're gonna get beaten back, like, but we can kind of make a more planned retreat of it. Be more sneaky, hit and runs, set up. For example, I've seen this a couple times in videos. I haven't been able to do it myself yet, but we have more IEDs now, so you could literally, you've got your front line. The team's always gonna have frontline people. They just rush no matter what. Let them do their thing. You get, let's say you build a platoon, you want to say, of 4 squads, 4 members. Each of them have IEDs. You just IED the shit out of one of the flags. Mines, IEDs, max it all out, and then fall back to a safe observation point. And then, so let them come. They come. They are all coming in the area. And then when they're in there, you just blow it all up. Like you get a lot of ticket loss in this way. So you're just kind of like playing a more hit and run kind of guerrilla style tactics, rather than just beating your head against the wall kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely want to see the insurgents play more differently, sneaky style like that, and we don't want to include them as much in the traditional AAS layers. Insurgency is obviously a game mode that I don't think we're going to be able to. We're going to try. Maybe I'm going to try and get in some small tweaks for Insurgency, the game mode. Nothing big, but yeah, we want to see this game mode become more enjoyable, more played, and that's where we'll really see the Insurgent faction kind of shine, because I don't think it was intended to be played on the AAS layers. It just the development of the game modes kind of fell behind a little bit, so we're making up for that now. But yes, Fallujah.
I think ATUC commented that games are taking a little bit longer now, in their opinion. I know
Yes.
have some changes coming for that too.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. With the AAS changes, I did tweak the tickets a little bit, but because the functionality of the way the flags work is a little different, so they you lose more tickets on flag captures, but you also gain more tickets. But essentially, we want, in a general sense, the small, very, very small maps. There's only like 1 or 2. The First Light and Sumari, we want those maps to generally go on for like 30, 40 minutes. The medium style maps, like the 2-kilometer maps, we want those to go on for about, like, I'm talking average, right? Because if a team does something weird or unexpected, it could go on much longer or much shorter if you get completely beaten down. But in a general sense, average sense, 2-kilometer maps, we want to go about 45 to an hour. And then the large 4-kilometer maps, we want them going on longer than that, right? So anywhere from like an hour to an hour and a half. So those large 4-kilometer maps are still going to be longer rounds. So server admins can plan for that. But yeah, all the majority of the maps are those medium style maps. So they're expected to be under an hour. Right now, that's not happening. The hot fix that's coming out next week, hopefully next week, we'll be addressing that. Yeah. So because I get it. You don't want to be on these tight small maps for ever, right? We want this to wrap up, kind of thing. And like I said, ticket bleed is still a thing that is it's kind of like what do you say? It's a shift in the focus of the game, but it's not a finalized, all right, this is the way it's going to be. But it's just kind of refocusing to give players a little more incentive to try out different strategies and not to be so locked into that middle flag as the only crucial port of the maps. Because these mappers make these beautiful, beautiful maps, and we want to be able to explore them. Explore the whole thing and use every square inch of it. And like I said, with these other game modes, territory control, etc., that's where that's really gonna get going with all the cool cool scenarios. Well, wow, I never even seen part of the map before, but now it's like become a more important aspect of it. So
Which also
Yes.
dovetails nicely with a lot of the reworks the maps have been getting, like Kohat got
Yes.
expanded. There's a
Yep.
lot going on in the mapping world too to optimize and make those
That's
a lot
right.
more fun to play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone has noticed, but holy hell, the maps look way better now. Like the shaders made a massive difference. So I think they're continuing to tweak the shaders and
The lighting is actually getting major rework. I mean,
yes.
I think for A11 it got rolled out to only a few maps.
Yes.
Like Kohat, for example.
Kohat, yep.
Yep.
And I think it's going. Yeah, I'm not the guy to talk about that. You got to bring on one of the art guys, but I just think game looks way cooler. If you're listening in now and you never screw with any of your settings, make sure you go into the options. And if you have a graphics card, like I think any of the one GTX 1000 series, like 1050, 1060, 1070, 1080. If you have any of those cards, you can turn on the DF shadow. I think it's called DF shadows in the options. Distance field shadows.
Yeah.
So I think that's off by default. Is that
It was
correct?
off in default in this patch. I
Yeah.
think it's going to start coming into effect more in future patches.
Eventually,
Yeah.
when it gets optimized more. But if you are listening and you haven't turned those on, be sure to turn those on because it's like a completely. We do have a dedicated Lightning guy, 15507. I think they're starting to come on board more with some of the changes he's been doing. But yeah, the distance field shadows, that makes a huge difference in how the game looks, especially with the buildings and stuff like that. So definitely turn those on if you haven't already, if you have a card that supports it. Because yeah, game looks so much more pretty now. I'm still shocked because I'm still coming from like a background with these older games primarily, and seeing when you crank up the graphics how good it looks. And I'm gonna hope to grab one of those new. I've got a 1060 right now, but I'm hoping to grab one of those 1180s or 2080s or whatever they end up calling them when they finally send out. Save all my pennies and really splurge on a good card.
Yeah.
And what do you got in there, Chuck? What do you got for your gaming machine?
I think I have like a
1060?
1070.
Oh, 1070. Yeah.
Sorry, no, like a single 1070 for my workstation, which is
Yeah.
is what I literally open up, the editor and have like Max running and Photoshop running at the same
4 gigs
time.
of RAM. 4 gigs of RAM in that.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the one I have at home is like just a 1060, but like both of them seem to run Squad on like between high and epic pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, and this last batch has helped it greatly. But yep. Oh, so shit. There's like, I don't know how people do these streams and actually keep up with all the chat.
Well, there's a good question. There's been a couple questions kind of about fobs and emplacements. One being, are we going to see any more buildings or blocks? And then, are there any plans to kind of like adjust the way or be able to like rotate emplacements that are not necessarily tied to the bunker? The example given is the SPG. It sucks if you place it and it no longer overlooks the way you thought it was going to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the SPG is a. I mean, we from a design side, I haven't gotten to speak with Ross yet. I assume the way it was implemented was because of the realism aspect of how you mount these things. They are mounted on these lower tripods, right? Because that's the proper mount for it.
Yeah, but to be fair, you could pick up the tripod and move it.
And rotate it. That's what PR did, right? PR, we were able to rotate them.
No, in PR, I think you had to literally destroy the emplacement and then rebuild it. But yeah,
maybe it wasn't PR. It was one of those games you could actually rotate. Is that Forgotten Hope? Okay. You could actually rotate it. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it's like that is a feature that we're very keenly aware of. Like just really the simple ability for you to replace already built assets, especially one that has a limited turn angle.
Yeah, because the Dishka putting down the one that's on the actual one where you're standing up, like the full, that's like so much more useful, because even though you're a higher profile, so you can get shot out easier, but just like the battle shifts, like that's the problem it's a video game, so the battle shifts, the front lines shift more quickly than you would in real life. So being able to, all right, shit, they're coming behind me. You know what I mean? That's like so handy. And like having this limited arc, it's like, oh, it's great when the enemy are at that ideal, 200, 300, 400 meter range, and they're moving within that field, right? But then as soon as they see you're up there, or they know you're up there, they're gonna be like, yeah, not going that way, and they just flank around. And then all your hard work for putting all this stuff down is instantly negated because the second they spot you, the second they spot you, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So those emplacements are more useful on maps that with extreme view distances, like Kohat. They're going to be in that valley, so you can kind of build up on a hilltop somewhere, a couple HMGs or whatever SPG, and then you kind of have a general sense that you're going to be able to shoot out. That's something I talked about. But having more, because I mean, the simple solution could be just mount the SPG on a tripod that you stand up on. But whether that's the actual realistic mount for that weapon system, I don't think it is. But I gotta talk to more with Ross about that and see how we can do. But the ability to rotate, not
and
rotate,
placement is
move the tripod.
Just the act of picking it up is something that we actually haven't been able to build in yet.
Yep, for sure. What was the other question? Oh, they want to know about buildings.
Yeah, any new buildings or emplacements or things in the pipeline?
Yeah,
for
nothing at the moment. I'm kind of against. I know it's like some people. I'm kind of against adding ridiculous things. Like I think the cement blocks are already a little stretch. It's one thing. Like, all right, I'm digging a sandbag, and then the sandbag is magically appearing. That's like, all right, I understand. And then it's like, okay, I'm digging. Oh, and now there's logs. Okay, well, I guess you could have cut the logs if it's a forest map. Okay, I'm digging, and now there's a freaking concrete bunker. Like, what? I'm like, where's my cement for? You know what I mean? So, like, I'm against kind of like adding, now we can build an airfield. You know what I mean? Like, now we can build the airport. So, yeah, I mean, I would keep it relatively like, we haven't spoken with Eric guys or anything like that, but if we were to add more art assets, it would be in my design to say, all right, more things to do with sandbags and stuff like that, like more functional stuff though, because like for example on the sandbags you got that row that you can shoot out of, the bottom row, but they're not always, and oftentimes they're not in the best spot. You know what I mean? Like those little the shooty holes. It's like it's very specific to certain areas. So maybe trying to get some more art assets like sandbag wall or whatever it may be, to have more functionality with it. That's what I would like to see. So, all right, these are like really, these sandbags offer the best line of sight when you have that little shooty hole. As well, take the bunker, for example, that you can build. Would be kind of cool to have a camo netting, for example, that is in the front that you can see out of, but seeing in is more hard. So that gives those bunkers more functionality, because right now you place a bunker down, you got a machine gun in it. The moment someone gets in it and starts shooting, it's like, everybody shoot me now. You know what I mean? I'm in a bunker that I can't move out of, and you can just take me out. So having a little bit more just more functional, making the art assets that are in there, tweaking them to be more functional would be a first step, I think, with those assets.
One kind of perennial question we get is, are we ever going to see an upgrade for the Rocket Techie interface?
Yes. I know.
Yeah, that was actually planned, but I think it just sort of fell by the wayside. That's I guess just something that we need to get on. That's all there is to it.
I'm all in favor of giving some kind of basic interface there with the ways to aim it, because it is a cool kind of weapon.
A terror weapon there.
Yeah, I think in terms of it's also Like I'll hopefully get that functionality on there, but I also think it's should be placed on the right. That's a great weapon for like a larger, like a map like Kohat is ideal for that kind of, you know what I mean? So it's like you're not engaging from like 100 or 200 meters because that's kind of like it's just weird. It's cooler.
It's too close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's too
yeah, that
close.
seems way too close. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you put it on Albazra, literally, that's as far as you're going to be able to shoot most of the time. You know, like
Yeah.
some exceptions, but you put it on a map like Kohat, you know, you can really, you know, on a map like Kohat, imagine you line up 3 rocket techies and you got those all that rocket salvo to come forward, and it'd be like would be quite terrifying to see coming in. You know what I mean? So yeah, like having it a true terror weapon. With, I think the original design on that was the intention was probably to add some basic, but they don't want it to necessarily be a lone wolf weapon in that you can aim and shoot and everything as a lone player. Like the intention was to work with a guy with binoculars to make it a teamwork vehicle. But it's like it is just kind of clunky at the moment because, and right now it's really buggy. I think we have to address that bug that it when you're shooting it from first person, it doesn't look like you're shooting. That's a V11 bug that was introduced. It doesn't look like you're shooting at all. So you're clicking, you're like nothing's happening. But in third person, in on the server, it's actually shooting. So it's like it's not being replicated on the first person. So yeah, that vehicle's bugged at the moment. I'm hoping we can get to that for this hotfix.
Yeah, yeah, that's it is confusing, but it does work, so that's good to clear up too.
Yeah. The warrior. The warrior. I don't know. I'm just reading the chat. I love that freaking thing. I don't know. Have you got to use it at all, you guys yet? Drive around the
No, I
new,
haven't gotten in the warrior yet. I've
Oh.
gotten to run along behind it and die a lot, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, have you Chuck?
Not in a game yet.
Yeah,
I
not a
actually
game.
did a lot of design work on the actual gunnery. So
Yeah.
like the sight, um,
It's
the ballistics on it as well. So a lot of work went into that.
yeah, no, it's a blast to play.
Yeah.
It's I think there's not like a I don't want to say there's not a great map for it yet, but it's like one of those assets that like it would be perfect on like a larger open desert map. Kohat's good, but yeah, well, I'm hoping we can get some more layers for the warrior too. Because in PR it was terrible that that thing, because it had a shit fire rate and it just is, and it's still got that because that's the real loadout. It's got 3-round mags, and you can load 2 3-round mags at a time. So it's like really slow compared to the autocannons.
Yeah.
But it packs a lot of punch. That's the thing. Those rounds are supposed to pack a lot of punch. So in the game, it's a beast. Like you have a techie or something coming up to you, and you just take them down. It's freaking, it's really cool. So I'm hoping we can get some more vehicles like that, and that also that has the ranged sight. Like I said, you put a lot of time in that ballistics and everything. Hoping we can get some the maps in the future to get that be able to use that system. You know what I mean? Like I think you can on Kohat. There's enough long distance range fighting that you can do that.
It's far out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also like there's actually a significant drop even at 200 to 400 meters. So
Yes. Yep.
So you kind of have to know how to use the sight in order to like gun effectively with it.
Yep, for sure. Oh yeah, you can see a bunch of the videos online too. People are like figuring it out and everything. It's quite cool. But let's see here.
We are coming up on the 2-hour mark, and I've only really promised you guys that I would go for an hour to take up 2 days. So yeah, we can start letting you get back to your day if you want to. If you have any kind of closing thoughts or anything you want to tell the audience, this is a perfect time to do so.
Closing thoughts.
Yeah. I'm just really glad that V11 has come up with the degree of like reception that it has had so far. I mean, we've definitely been working on it like definitely in earnest after version 10. So in a way, it's a big like iterative step after version 10, and we like worked out a lot of like workflow issues that came up during version 10's cycle that we felt that we definitely addressed with version 11. So like going forward, we feel really confident, and I'm glad that version 11 so far has been a success, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, the running meme kind of internally has been it's the best patch we've released in a long time, just because we haven't released a lot of patches in a long time.
Yeah.
It's been good, you know, and I'm hoping with the hot fix we're gonna get the some of the issues sorted. Oh, and somebody mentioned the lats. Yes, there is intention to have both all the factions were intended to have 2 lats per squad. That was a slight oversight, but Chuc, we're gonna have to go for a shootout here.
Yeah. Okay, you get your pistol. I got my 40 mic right here.
Let's go. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is good. This is fun to chat. I hope we get to chat again. We get to chat again.
Absolutely. You guys are always welcome to come back and chat for another hour or two.
We should get all the guys on one of these days. Like have like a 6 or 8 man, 8-man squad chat. Everybody
a
playing
literal
a game
squad chat. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody playing a game. Oh, that'd be epic. I don't know if that's even possible with the bandwidth, but yeah, that'd be cool. So,
alrighty. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We'll be doing this again next time, probably with some different guests, but be sure to follow up. We'll have this posted on Twitch for a couple weeks, and then when it falls off there, it'll be archived on YouTube indefinitely. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate your questions, and we hope you're enjoying V11.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See ya.